Hello and good day. This is Philip Branton, the Revoked Civil Servant. This is, I believe, segment 2. In this segment, I'd like to discuss a recent event here in our local city here on Folly Beach. It may shed some light wherever you live as to how things have changed over the years with impacts and reverberations with any type of local ordinances. Here on Folly Beach, there was a news article that came out, and it is discussing the possibility of a new noise ordinance here on Folly. Now, Chris, big deal. How does this apply to me? I'm in Kansas City, or I'm in Detroit, or I'm in New Orleans. How does this? I'm in a little town outside Tulsa. Why does this apply to me? Well, as an example, using this noise ordinance, I read the article, and more importantly, I started reading the comments that were attached, via a Facebook group called Politics, that basically, residents here on the island are a member of, and we get, all kind of local updates, and basically, as pretty predictable, you had your, kind of like outrage, mockery. There were all valid points, and most of them were kind of, in my view, kind of hilarious. It was, of course, I went into the comment section and I started to explain what some of the ramifications and reverberations were to this noise ordinance. Now, historically, cities can do whatever they want, pass laws however they see fit. But in today's environment, these noise ordinances, or any of these type of ordinances and new laws, zoning, development, the citizens really need to be aware of how those ordinances are being used. So, you take this noise ordinance, for example. There's 2 local bars here, primarily 2. All of them do it from time to time. They have pretty loud music to attract people to come in. But, the later the night, the louder the music. And so, one bar tries to up the other, and it just gets louder and louder and louder. Now, you have local people come on and say, hey, well, this is a problem. We need to pass an ordinance. In the past, most people, it don't affect me. Do what you want. But in today's environment, it impacts everybody. Because all of these establishments are being used to collect data, whether people realize it or not. And that data has huge ramifications, not just in today's value, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 30 years from now. So think about some of the young people going in some of these bars with loud music. Okay, you can get in, be 18, but you can't drink. Or you can get in at 21. Okay, so some of these people are very young. So 30 years from now, they're not even thinking how the GPS data is being tracked, cataloged, and kept by these insurance companies. So 30 years from now, they get a notice. They've been employed somewhere, maybe let's say 5-10 years, and they're looking at their paycheck and they go, "Well, what happened? I got $200 less this month." And then they're looking at the breakout on the pay. My health insurance went up. Well, what's going on? So then they do some digging around. They do some calling. Come to find out, they finally get somebody on a possible phone and say, "Hey, what's the reasoning behind this health insurance update?" Some lady or man on the phone tells them, "So, well, you've passed a certain age, and so therefore, based on your historical health environment experiences, your rates have gone up." And I said, "What do you mean, not my historical health environment?" Well, when you were between the ages of 18 to 25, your GPS tracking and decibel level experience and exposure has put you in a category that, based on actuary risks tables, have put you into a category where your health insurance is going to go up. Because it's highly likely that you're going to be needing, hearing aids in the next 5 years. People don't understand what all this is, these so-called, ordinances and how it's going to affect them. Not only that, if you're, let's say, 70 years old, "Yeah, pass that ordinance. I hate that loud music." But you really don't understand the ramifications coming back to you here. You're on a fixed income. Oh, yeah. And you don't understand that, wait a second, they passed that ordinance because the city is trying to put themselves into a, so they're not sued. The city legal team, the city lawyer, and the chief information officer, along with the mayor and a few other people, they realize, wait a second, if we don't do something, we're going to have these lawyers collecting this data that they're buying, this GPS data, and they're going to go out and they're going to form a class action lawsuit because the city did not enforce a reasonable decibel level at these establishments these young people are going into. Well, see, then the city has to fight off these type of court cases because these lawyers are saying, "Hey, we can sue the city over this." So guess what the mayor and city council has to do to pay off all these lawyers on both sides? They got to raise tax rates to cover that insurance and liability risk. Oh, yeah. And so the 70-year-old, he doesn't realize, because that's going to affect him next year when the city has to raise their taxes to cover, the additional lawyer fees because of this new noise ordinance. So there's basically, you can think of it as a shakedown on either side. And so when voters or constituents, the citizens, go to these meetings to hear these, and to put feedback in on these noise ordinances that the city officials that they have elected are voting on, they may have I know they have no clue. Is the mayor going to tell them that? City council? Most people, I shouldn't say most people, the people I've had the opportunity to overhear, let's just one of the people on council owns a bar. I heard some of the discussion and some of the thoughts that were taking place in a very social setting. Well, basically, I kind of hinted there's going to be reverberations on this noise ordinance that people aren't, and I knew by listening to him talk, he probably didn't have a grasp of how this was maybe a way of the insurance people that cover his own bar can come back and raise the rates. And here he is thinking he's doing good by passing a noise ordinance. What he doesn't understand is the monetary ramifications coming around the backside because of the data that's being collected. Oh yeah. So this is what I was noticing. Nobody had any type of awareness like that coming up in the comment section of this Facebook group. Okay? So no matter where you live, these ordinances and zoning, noise ordinances, all these, there's other reasons behind what's being done that most people aren't being told about. Now it's like, I'll give you another local example. And you can see it coming a mile away. Mount Pleasant, city of Mount Pleasant. They had an election. The person who, won and was mayor was Billy Swales. And he was a State Farm insurance agent. What does anybody think is going to happen with all the zoning for the growth of Mount Pleasant? I mean, he's an insurance agent. He wants more development. So all these new homes have to have insurance policies. Okay? So how do you think he's going to vote? Okay? Not only that, it's the data behind certain actions like that. Because at the same time, this was before the whole blow up of the Fairfield County nuclear power plant fiasco. So here's Mayor Swales, just as all other mayors here locally, said nothing about the 9 rate increases that was happening on their local constituents and voters and citizens. Nothing. Not one thing was said. Same thing. After all of this, I mean, it's like a feeding frenzy right now with trying to get as much development approved because Dominion Energy needs all that additional development. Oh yeah. So they can charge all those additional people monthly electric rates. Dominion Energy, they didn't pay those billions of dollars for what's now. They paid those billions of dollars for what's coming in the future. And it's right the opposite of really what the citizens need to be made or need to be aware of. Because of the changes in technology, the changes in home construction and home energy production, the whole 9 yards. So right now, what's on the books, that's why none of the subdivisions, to my knowledge, none of the subdivisions that have been planned in the last 10 years or in the 10 years in the future, none of them are going to produce any of their own energy. Nobody in elected office is going to change those building codes or zoning codes because they know Dominion Energy is going to come in and they're going to crucify them at the ballot box. Because of, you can just watch how much Dominion Energy has paid media companies in the past. So the data, that's being harnessed, that's what people really don't understand and how it's going to affect them. So I wanted this second segment, which is now running about 17 minutes. I'm going to try to wrap this second segment up, to get you to think about in your own area. Because right here in Folly Beach, there's a couple of actions that have happened here recently that have huge cascading effects, and people aren't being told. Whether it's offshore drilling or whether it happens to be this noise ordinance that they're trying to pass. I have a good friend. That's part of his livelihood, DJ. And let me tell you, very intelligent person. And so I enjoy, talking with him about things like this because he gets it. And even when, I present certain information in a way that is never, he's like, wow. Okay. So, like I say, the second segment, just wanted to throw that out there as an example. Because, listen, these people I live with here at Folly Beach, they're nice people. For the most part, my own city council, I have no ill will toward my mayor, Tim Goodwin. Matter of fact, I bet Mayor Goodwin really doesn't or isn't being presented with all the data ramifications that these ordinances are going to usher in. So, and that's how some of the data that I've been tracking and the manipulation going up through any chain of command has reverberative effects. So, like I say, this is my second segment. Give you something to think about. In your own, whether it's your work or wherever you live, and how that data is being used. So, like I say, this ends the second segment. Hope it's been informative. See you in segment 3. Appreciate you watching. Thanks.